just realized my mic was muted. I was not all organized, and that's all right. So I'm going to start again and say welcome, welcome to today's video, today's chat. I want to talk with you about you don't want balance. You want this instead. Yes. So a lot of people that I talk to, they talk about not having time, not having enough time, and wanting to live a balanced life. Yes, in fact, actually, if you go and you just look it up, one of the things that people in general, at least in America, say they want is balance. However, balance is not really what you want. And I'm going to explain that in a little bit. But before I do that, I do want to share, for those of you who do not know me, that my name is Beth Brown. I am a Christian confidence coach, and I help women and men to map out their life transformational success stories. And one of the things that I really focus in on is forgiveness. And forgiveness actually is going to tie in with this because a lot of times we feel guilty. We feel guilty about how we spend our time. If we don't do, everything over here at work, we feel guilty about, that. If we're not doing everything with our friends, we feel like we are letting our friends down. If we're not doing everything with our families, we're feeling like we're letting our families down. And then we're mad that we don't have time for ourselves and for our own healing because we're trying to take care of all of our responsibilities. Yes, adulting. And in adulting, we try to get it to all balance. Here's the problem. Balance is actually going to lead to death. Yes, it's going to lead to the death of the lifestyle you want to live. Now that sounds pretty dramatic. And my close friends will tell you I can be a little bit dramatic, but I am being very, very serious right now because I want you to just take a moment and go back to when you were in high school in science class. And your teacher said that today in class, you guys are going to be using the triple beam balance. Remember those days? Remember that triple beam balance? I actually hated that thing. It was super annoying. Why was it super annoying? Well, it was about as annoying as everything else in life when you're trying to balance it all and you're like, I can't make it work. So anyway, right? So they give you different objects and you have to weigh them and you have to get it balanced. Okay? And so you and your lab partners, you spend your time, you put whatever the object or the weight is, and then you weigh it and you get all of the little things that slide just right. And then it's balanced. It's like this. Well, what's the problem with it being just like this? You're thinking, well, that's great. Sounds great. If my life was just like this, it would be calm, it would be peaceful. Things wouldn't be all over the place. Wrong. Because what's life going to do? Life is going to life. Something is going to come up. There's going to be a new activity or a new opportunity. There is going to be some sort of crisis. Whatever it is, right, that's going to happen in life is going to happen. And that thing that you've carefully spent all of your time and energy putting it into to balance it out, it's all going to end up getting tipped. And then you're going to be like, I'm out of balance again. And so when you are striving for balance in your life, you're going to be spending all day, every day, trying to just keep things even. And it's exhausting. I don't know about you, but just talking about it, I feel like I need to go take a nap. And it didn't work for me. I was one of those people at one time who thought, yes, I need to get it balanced. But here's the thing. There's always going to be something else that comes up tomorrow. There's always going to be something that comes up in 5 minutes, right? The kids are going to call and they're going to need something extra for school. Your mom or your dad, your parent, is going to maybe need you to run an errand for them. your coworker is going to need a little extra pep talk or like a little extra insight on a project, right? So it's always going to be something, and you're going to get a little bit off, and then it's going to throw your whole day off because you can't get yourself balanced. So you don't want balance. Also, when you think about balance, there's no movement. When we have no movement in our lives become stagnant. Think about water. I'm going to use water in a moment to like explain what it is that we do want, what you and I do want in our lives in terms of our time for being able to, really have the lifestyle that we want to live. How do we get that if balance isn't the answer? But going back to water, if you are, well, maybe not in New York City, I'm sure that this happens in other places too. But sometimes after a rainstorm, there'll be like these puddles in the sidewalk or like by the gutter, and the water didn't just drain right. And so it becomes stagnant and it becomes filthy. I mean, it's disgusting. It's like this brownish, murky, whatever. You can think about it even like, I feel like I'm getting a little gross here, but that's really what becomes of our lives. Our lives, when our lives don't have movement, when we try to just like balance it all and keep it all in check, at an even place, we actually begin dying. Like our hopes and our dreams begin dying. Our lifestyle that we might have created a vision board for, it's not happening. It's not becoming real because we're just trying to keep everything steady. And to be honest, if you've ever tried it, I know I've done a whole lot of transformation in my life and healing. When you start to heal and you start to work through things and you start to really recreate and rewrite the stories of your life and reorganize things, the little balance, it gets thrown off, and it can get to be kind of a little bit of a messy process. And if we're always striving for keeping it balanced, then that mess can stress us out. And then we'll be like, I don't have time for a mess right now. I don't have time for my healing right now. I can't take time to work with a coach because that coach is going to give me all these assignments to do and these things to think through. And I don't have time for it because it's going to stir up all sorts of emotions. And those emotions right now, from my trauma, from my heartbreak, from my fears, from my discouragements, from the stresses, those emotions right now are just kind of quietly here. But here's the thing, those emotions that are just like quietly here, laying quiet in your heart, are like that dirty puddle of water after a rainstorm that didn't go anywhere, that didn't drain anywhere. And is just kind of like building up and is just kind of toxic and really actually leading to the death of the future that you really so desperately desire to have. So it's okay that we have a mess, and it's okay that things aren't actually balanced, because when we start having a mess and things start getting out of balance, we begin to start creating what is more of a flow. We start to create movement. So when we start working on healing from things that, heartbreaks or things that work through forgiveness, right? Forgiveness can be really a messy process because you have to look at your responsibility in this situation. You have to look at your emotions. You have to embrace it and work through it and figure out how this is all going to become a new story for you. And you don't have to spend hours doing it. When I work with clients, it's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day, right? We all have time for that, but we think we don't have time for it because it's like, oh, there's going to be this mess. But when this mess starts happening, we start getting a flow. Things start to move. They start to shift. And let me tell you, this is absolutely something that God did when He has made creation. If you think about the things that God has done, you go back and you look at it, the oceans, right? The oceans have life in them. They have all sorts of different plants, all sorts of like really teeny tiny like things you can't even see, right? The algae, the bacteria, then there's like the big sharks, and then there's like quirky octopus, which are one of my favorite animals. And there's just like all sorts of interesting things moving around. It's life. Now, here's what you want to do with your time. You want to make sure that you give it boundaries, right? Because God, even when he made the water, which is supposed to be moving and flowing, right? That was something that he put a boundary on. It says in Proverbs, wisdom is saying, I was there when God put in place, let me look at the exact limits, set the limits of the sea. I was there, right? We think about the earth, right? Our earth, when we're standing on our earth, we think, oh, everything's balanced, right? We think it's all balanced because we don't feel it moving. But the earth is moving very fast. If the earth stopped moving, we'd all actually kind of fly off of it, I think. Well, I'm not a scientist, but something really bad would happen to us. That movement of the earth, that flow, that rotation, all of that helps create the tension between us, between the moon, between the sun, between everything. It actually, that movement is what creates and causes there to be life, right? So what we want to do, we want to have a flow in our life. We want our professional lives and our relationships with our life partners, with our children, with our other family members, our cousins, our parents, our friends. We want our self-care, right? It's not going to be perfectly balanced of today I'm spending 5 minutes doing this, and then I'm going to spend an hour doing that. And it's not going to be just like, oh, it's just like all balanced, right? We want a movement, a flow, so that we can be flexible and keep our peace. Because when we're just trying to keep everything balanced, if something new gets added onto it, it's like, oh my goodness, that's when I would be so freaked out. I'd be like, I can't handle another thing. Oh my goodness, don't add this to my plate. It really like added so much stress to my life. When I realized that for my healing, what I needed was a flow of emotions, was to feel the flow of emotions, was to like figure out how my life could flow. How could I work at that time when I was really going through, like in particular, 3 years of like really deep healing from going through a traumatic experience and then a heartbreak, and at that time I was still thinking balance. I had to have balance, right? But when I started healing and realizing, I really should have, it's okay to have like a flow of time that I spend with God. Sometimes we're like, oh, I feel so guilty that I didn't spend an hour praying today and studying. Well, not every day is going to be an hour of that, right? Some days it's going to look different. Each day is going to look different. But when we start trying to like balance it all and like put everything in its little pocket, yes, we absolutely want boundaries. And we want to say at this point, this is not taking over my life. This is not, we do want to establish boundaries, right? But have it so it's flowing and not just like compartmentalized, right? Then we can begin starting to write our new life success stories. We can begin starting to write our stories for our lives, with our relationships, with our, businesses, if you're an entrepreneur, or, with your promotions, if you are a traditional employee, like in the corporate world or something, right? You have this flow. It's, yes, you do not want to be there. There would be boundaries. Okay. Right. So to a point, there's a little bit of a compartment. You don't want to be on a date texting your coworker about like some kind of whatever is gossip at work or whatever, right? You definitely want to create boundaries, right? And say like, no more, this isn't coming into this space. But it's not just like, when we have like this balance and we just have this to-do list, it's like, I have to go from here to here to here to here to the next thing. Are you understanding what I'm saying? But when it's like more of a flow, I'm breathing and I'm moving, right? Flow, synonyms for flow means glide, proceed, slide, steadily, continuously. So we're continually kind of moving in and out of different areas, right? And navigating it. Now, how to do that, right? That could be a question. You're like, well, that sounds interesting, Beth, but I don't know how to do that. And like, where is the time and how do you figure all of that out? And that is something that I work with in the very beginning, whether I'm working with someone in a confidence coaching one-to-one meeting, or if I'm working with someone on, coaching them with getting their business started. One of the first things that I do with all my clients is figuring out how to structure their schedule, right? Doing a time audit. So where is all of this time going? How is it all going? Are you trying to just like get it balanced? Because when we try to get it balanced, it's just like too stressed, right? So how do we create this flow so that we're just kind of more like gracefully going through life instead of like huffing and puffing, trying to keep up with our schedule and going in, and then I don't have time for myself. So what we're looking for, to sum up today's video, is we are looking to have flow in our life. When there is flow and we're allowing ourselves to feel the emotions, we're allowing ourselves to, even sometimes part of the flow is to take a break and just pause and process, right? But we're just kind of moving more gracefully, right? We're reducing our stress, and that's what we want. And that gives us the life. It helps us to begin building and creating the lifestyle and the stories that we want to be able to, when we're old or older, and talking to our grandchildren or great grandchildren, like, hey, this is what I did, right? When we're looking back and reminiscing, we want to have those stories that we can think about how we really enjoyed ourselves and flourished, versus the balance where we're like, well, I just tried to keep it all balanced and it was kind of stressful because I was just kind of here. And that's really how we get stuck. That's how we get stuck in life, and then end up, on our deathbed thinking, oh, I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. I wish I had done the next thing, but I just never had time. Like, when was there time? Because I had to go to work. I had to take care of the kids. I had to do this. I had to do that. I had to go to church. I had to go here, there, and everywhere. And it was just like all of this, like, crazy, try to keep it balanced. No time, no flow, just all stress. We don't want that. We don't want to look back on our lives for that. So yes, if you are looking to have more flow in your life and just be able to write your own life success stories, then let's chat. I can help you map that out. Absolutely. And even, sometimes in our flow, we just have to let go of some things. Not everything that we think we are responsible for are we responsible for. And we also have to let go of that guilt of letting some things slide. And so that requires even forgiveness of ourselves, or maybe even forgiveness of someone else who may have been making us feel guilty that we're not living up to the responsibility, whatever that happens to be. So yes, I was using air quotes. So that's something else that I can help you with as well, to help you with your flow, so that, just releasing that guilt that we put on ourselves when we can't get it all done, but we're trying to get it all done, but we just can't seem to manage it. So if you are looking to have more flow, more lifestyle success stories, release feelings of guilt for not being able to get it all done and not having enough time, then let's chat. I would be happy to map out a plan with you for 30 minutes. It's a free chat, no strings attached. I'm going to put the link below in the description below this video so that you can, book your call with me, and we can figure out what the next best steps are for you, and if and how I can help you. So until tomorrow, I will be back again. But remember, we are looking for flow, not balance. Flow is life. Balance is just kind of a dead end, no movement street. All right. So have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, depending on what time it is that you are watching this video. All right. So peace.